G'day guys and welcome to another episode here on Talk Hub. Well, as if we didn't already have enough on our plate with Liam's Radial Ute, as well as my VH and Kurt's VR, we're bringing another project in. Sometimes it's just how it goes when the parts are there and the people are motivated, we've got to get stuck in. So why don't we move this one out of the way and we'll show you what it is.
XY Falcon. Here it is.
Look at this beast, eh? You get really excited about this thing, don't you?
I love this thing. This thing is actually really sick.
It's one of the cars that the more you look at it, the cooler it gets, really. Yeah, so for the first time, we're going to be leaving the Lions Den and we're going to be doing a blue oval car. So if you're a Holden fan and you're new to the channel, welcome. This won't be the last Ford that we're doing, it's just the first one, isn't that right, Kurt?
Yes.
We've got a couple lined up, but this one here is pretty special. It's had a beautiful restoration done.
Yes.
By the guys at Panelworks. It's basically got as many reproduction or new old stock parts in it as you can find. The guys have done an amazing job, and Joe is pretty well known for his XY GT restorations and his Monaro restorations as well. It comes right down to all the stickers are as true to original as you can find. Overspray in the guards in the right positions as they were factory, right down to the finest details. So you might find an XY as nice as this, but you probably won't find one nicer, don't you think?
No, he's done a cracker job.
He has.
And like you said, from what our boy Mick was telling us, the real, true blue Ford guys that have the blue blood running through their veins, they can find it pretty hard to pick the difference between this one and an actual genuine GT. From what Mick was telling us, he's done a cracker job. Everything's done, to the umpteenth degree, and he's done a great job.
That's exactly right, and I mean there's a lot of real significance with the XY GTs, like the actual GTs. In 1971 they released a GTHO Phase 3, so HO was high output, Phase 3 was the third version of it. They had a 351 cubic inch Cleveland V8 in them, and they set a world record for the fastest four-door production sedan in the world. That's why these things, you've probably heard your uncle or your granddad or your dad bang on about just how special these XYs were, and if you didn't know, then you don't know. But for 20 years, until Lotus came along with their car, which went faster than this, these were the be-all, end-all, really, for performance sedans. So they were a race on Sunday, sell on Monday type of car. You could buy them as a road registered race car. So that's why these things are what they are. Obviously this one's not a genuine GT. If it was, it'd be worth $500,000 and we wouldn't be allowed to touch it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near it, basically. This one started out as a Falcon Futura 500, and then Joe and his team did their bit, and they've made it as close to the real thing as you can get.
This one, sorry to cut you off there, but this is an original V8 car though, isn't it?
This was, yeah. So being a Futura 500, I think, look, I'm not a Ford expert, but
that's it. We're going to get pulled. We'll get pulled up in the comments from all the guys that are Like, what do I always say? Train spotters of all this stuff. So
That's right. Yeah, I think this one would have come with a 302. Being a Falcon 500 was usually like like 5 litre. So I'm going to make an assumption there. It may have been a 351 cubic inch car, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure on it. But this was an original V8 car. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's got no engine in it at the moment, obviously.
no.
But it did have one.
How good does the engine bay look though? Like, everything is just
It's nice and clean. We're not going to get dirty working on it.
so neat. I'm going to be taking every bloody precaution not to put a scratch on this thing. It's
Yeah.
not happening. It's not getting scratched.
Nah, definitely not. There'll be 3 layers of towels on everything. But yeah, it did have a Cleveland V8 in it. It was a 393 cubic inch V8 with a C4 trans, and that made 290 rear wheel horsepower at the time, which is pretty good for what it was. It was a mild hydraulic.
You could sneeze at it if you wanted to. You could definitely sneeze at it.
Oh yeah,
But,
but
like-
it went well. It was a mild hydraulic cam. Real streetable, nice to drive. Really, it really was a nice car to drive. But kind of like everybody else, you've got that magic 500 number. That kind of seems to be everyone's sort of base mark for what they want in a real tough street car. Same thing happened with Rob and the Turbo Tunner as well, which we did before. Mick wanted 500 rear wheel horsepower in this thing, and that 393 probably just wasn't going to cut the mustard. We could maybe change the cam and the heads and get it up to 400, maybe 450, but that was probably about where that particular combo was going to land.
And that would have been super tough anyway. Like 450, naturally aspirated, through an automatic. That is tough. That is proper tough.
That's right. These things look like a big car, and people talk about these, being a fairly big car and all steel and this and that and all the rest of it. But under these big cars, there's nothing there. They're not very heavy. These cars, they're fairly light.
Yeah, you can see even just, the structure. You can see where they've saved weight. There really isn't a lot to these things.
No, that's right. So 400 wheel horsepower in a car like this, and especially something that's really agricultural. It's still got a steering box, fairly agricultural sort of suspension setup in it. It'd be a bit of a handful, but we're going to make the problem a hell of a lot worse. What do you reckon? Should we tell them what we're going to put in this thing, or?
I think we should definitely tell them. But I'm
Break
going to let them off to a clue. It is not getting another Cleveland, so I can already hear all the guys in front of their phones and computer screens screaming.
Yeah, that's it.
The purists.
All the purists will be saying an XY needs to have a Cleveland V8, but we're not doing one of them.
Let's roll it.
All right.
Here it is. This is the lump that we are going to put into the XY. It's a pretty nice piece.
Isn't it? Yeah, it really is. No, we're not going to put a turbo LS in this one. We are totally going to change it up. But this isn't a Cleveland V8, so like I said, the purists are probably going to get a little bit upset. But should I hit him with some specs?
Yes, hit him with specs.
Yeah, we've got a couple of nerds that watch the channel that like to hear these kind of things. I like this.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter what they want to see, I want to hear it.
Yeah. So it's a world block Windsor. So starting with an aftermarket block, it's got stroker crank with H-beam rods and some forged pistons. This one sits at 411 cubic inch, so it's a little bit bigger than the 393 that we did have. Going from there, you come up to the top, we've got some alloy heads. So we're sitting in Edelbrock Victor Jr. These have been CNC ported as well. You've got Yellow Terra shaft mount rockers on the inside of here, with all of the good stuff. It's a hydraulic roller still, so it's not super aggressive. It's not like a solid roller, something that you need to check all the time.
It's a straight engine, 100% straight engine. Nothing's out of hand, is it?
No, that's right. Yeah, it'll be a good tough street engine. So you're sitting at, I think it's 242, 254 are roughly where the cam duration is sitting at, with 114 degree lobe separation. Hydraulic, yeah, and with this amount of cubes, that's going to be, it'll sound tough, but it'll be fairly tamed as well, so that's going to be good. We got Super Victor Edelbrock intake sitting up here, and obviously the elephant in the room is this stonking F1R Pro Charger. Originally, the plan for this car was to put another Cleveland in. Truthfully, we've got quotes from engine builders on a 427 or 434 cubic inch Arrow block Cleveland donk, which was going to go in there and replace the 393. Probably something that would make about 700 flywheel horsepower, but at that kind of level, you're kind of pushing the limits of pump fuel, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably maybe an E85 type of deal.
Well,
whereas
you can do it, but you know, it's you're pushing the limits. You don't want to get a bad batch or something like that.
No, that's right. So I mean, this sits at, I think it's about 8.5 or 8.7 to 1 compression, which is fairly low, but considering running boost and pump fuel, it's probably going to be a good thing. You probably see at the top here, we've got a leaky toilet. It's got a Holly 750 that's been modified to suit a blow-through application. I mean, it's what it came with and it's what the engine's set up for, so we are going to use it. A Terminator X system would be really nice on one of these, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I've been saying the whole time, if we didn't have the fuel squirter on there, like basically ready to go, EFI is a no-brainer.
Definitely, yeah. But I mean, because some of the cost of that is negated by already having the carb, we are going to run with it. We're going to send it off to Wayne at Performance Carb Tuning to go through it, make sure everything is as good as gold with it. Because obviously, with a blow-through setup, if you're running decent boost, that's got to be right. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We've got a Crank Trigger Pro billet dizzy. And we've got all the crank trigger bracketry down here from MSD with the flying magnet wheel. So we've just got to get another sensor and the ignition box for it. But yeah, that's essentially what we're going to run with this thing. It's, according to the engine builder, it should make around 800, 850 at flywheel and pump fuel fairly comfortably. So that'll probably land us somewhere around the 650-ish wheel horsepower, do you reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just a number at the end of the day. But that's probably where we're going to end with. Kind of like Rob's wanting 500 horsepower, and we sort of went past that. This is going to be the same thing. We're going to under-promise and over-deliver, hopefully. That's what we're looking for. So behind this, we've had the bearded Knowledge. He's gone and done us up a pretty ripper little trans.
Yes, Corey at Australian Automatics has done this one up for us, and this is another controversial piece. Obviously, for all you guys that play with this stuff on the regular, that is not Ford transmission.
No, it's not. It's a little bit different. So we've got ourselves a Turbo 400. This one is pretty stonking as well. It's got all the good bits in it.
Yes, we requested that this one be able to handle about 1200 horsepower, because you never know, once the bug bites and you know, you think about upgrading this blower, like Jeff alluded to before, this is the F1R. It's an older style supercharger that's been, there's some newer ones out, but you can always change later on if the bug really bites, so you're better off getting your transmission to be able to handle a bit more, so.
Yeah, that's it. I can't remember the specs off the top of my head, but luckily I've got a list from Corey, so I can kind of tell you what it's got. This has got a Hughes 300M billet input shaft with forward drum. It's got a Sonax billet forward hub, 4L80E direct drum with 34 element HD sprag. We got Alto direct power pack clutches, has 6 extra clutches and billet pressure plate as well. So that's going to give us a lot of good clamping force on that bad boy. Ray Bestos blue forward and intermediate clutches. It's got a Cone Engineering billet output shaft that's been rollerized as well, which is going to be, that's a good insurance thing. Basically for any of those boxes over 1000 horsepower, you want a roller rear bearing. Forward pattern valve body with no trans brake. Unfortunately, this is a street car, not a race car. We would love to put a trans brake reverse pattern in it, wouldn't we, K-Fizzy?
Yes, well, we can always do that later on. The same with my 400, it's the same thing, no trans brake. You can creep up on these things, but as long as you've got the main bits.
Yeah, and other than that, it's just got this sweet SFI bell housing from JW. So you can see we've had to cut the case and put this SFI bell housing on. It bolts on to where the oil pump more or less goes on. And that's a really tough piece, but that adapts our Turbo 400 to the Windsor block, and that's more or less what we've got there.
Yeah. Also, just don't want to interrupt, but the case is a HD case as well. It's not your standard case; it's the HD one. So I'm led to believe that the center's a little bit thicker. There's a little bit more support there to handle the extra power. So
Yeah,
I think those are out of like Hummers and stuff like that.
Yeah, Hummers, Silverados, I think they're the ones that had the HD cases, and I mean we've seen, you know, online people using similar things in what, like
2,000 horsepower plus.
Yeah, like mid 7-second cars.
Yeah,
so this is going to be well and truly
this
what we need.
honestly is probably as good as it gets before you go to the reed case, which a lot of people don't understand. Like a Turbo 400 reed case it's a big deal, very, very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're really, really, really getting after it, it's not really where you're going to be. You know, you're going to add several thousand. I think it's another $3,000 to $3,500 just in case and bell and tail housing and all that stuff.
Yeah, but like I said, this thing here well and truly outweighs what this is going to make.
Yeah.
So like that will handle 100 horsepower. I don't think we're going to see that here. Even if we put this on E85, even if we ran it on C16, even though we can't run leaded fuel in Australia anymore, we still wouldn't make that much horsepower with this. So that there is going to be spot on. And thankfully, this car already has a 9-inch diff.
Yes.
So that helps. But I guess that's where we're going to leave it for now. This video is starting to get a little bit long in the tooth. So thank you guys all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to call this one the XY Prince, the little brother of XY King, if you're familiar with it from Street Machine. It's got a slightly bigger engine and a bigger blower. But in the next episode, we're going to chuck this in the engine bay, aren't we?
Yes, we're going to get down to business.
It's going to be a little bit tight. That blower is going to sit really close to that strut tower, but that sounds like future Jeff problems. So
yes, or future Kurt problems. Probably more like future Kurt problems.
Yeah, that's it. But thanks again all for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more of the series, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. But until next time, we'll catch you on the next